constitutes people with an Al-Qaeda ideology. And that terrorism that's being funded might later come back and be used in an attack against the US people, as well as result in the taking of more liberties by the US government of the US people. So these are the interests to the US people, but also, I think everybody wants a country, a nation for which there is a history to be proud of. And I think the US people would be the same in that, because they are proud people and they want to hold their heads up high and know that their country represents righteousness and not imperialism, neocolonialism, and fueling of terror. Nusra has the Al-Qaeda ideology was just an easy way to use them as a scapegoat. So now when there's any bombing, suicide bombing, beheadings, etc., they can just say, oh, it was Jabhat al-Nusra, but the rebels are a completely separate group and they're totally angelic, clean. But the fact is that there's more than one Islamist group for one thing, and I'm talking Al-Qaeda ideology group. There is a group called Jabhat al-Sham, and even the FSA leaders themselves, like the former head of the opposition, Muaz al-Khatib, the FSA leader Idris, and one of the commanders al-Assad, along with 89 battalions, all made statements saying that they back Jabhat al-Nusra and they stand by it. And that was at the time that the US declared it a terrorist organization. Now, since then, there has been a power struggle among struggle groups in Syria between the FSA and the Islamist groups. However, it's not as the media is trying to portray it. It's not secular jihadists around the globe. And that's exactly what Al-Qaeda has really flourished and become, just a meme, an ideology that people have, that they want to control the region under their brand of Sharia law. And even in Sydney, in Australia, and all the way in the UK and other parts of Europe, there are people saying, Osama bin Laden is my leader, I'm Al-Qaeda, holding up placards in protest saying that they support Al-Qaeda. So it's actually an ideology that's been fueled by media such as Al Jazeera, who often used to show Al-Qaeda recordings from Osama bin Laden and Zawahiri as well. This is what's happening around the Middle East now. Ideology is based also on a cult within Islam, which goes by the name of Salafism or Wahhabism. And it is these Salafi sheikhs that are basically sanctifying rape. The refugee camps on the Jordan border are now facing lots of people from Saudi Arabia, the home of Salafism and Wahhabism, coming to the refugee camps, either raping girls or purchasing them and marrying them temporarily, which are like sham marriages that sanctify prostitution. And, under normal circumstances, these people would never have had a chance with these young girls. And a lot of them are, in fact, older men. So onward with that, in a totally different place, in Tunisia, there was a sheikh called Muhammad al-Arafi who said that he called on the women of Tunisia to go to Syria to participate in a sexual jihad where they would be helping the jihad if they were to sleep around with the insurgents. So as a result, a 16-year-old girl was kidnapped and her parents were on Tunisian TV holding up her photo and begging for her kidnappers to return her. So, and then as another sheikh, this is the most recent event, called Yasir al-Ajwulani, said that the Christians of Syria are basically war loot, and that the rebels can go on and just rape them because they're part of the commodity that they can gain from the war. And I just want to say on this point, this cult within Islam is not Sunni Islam. I hear a lot of people blaming Sunniism for this, but Sheikh Bouti, who is the head Sunni in Syria, called out against these rebels and actually called for jihad. This was on Channel 4 News. 60-year-old Saudi Arabian men trying to find 13-year-old Syrian girls. Now, it's always been sort of a trend of these Gulf Arabs coming to Syria to look for wives. Usually they're from more poverty-stricken areas. But what's happening now is that they're engaging in these also temporary marriages, and some of the girls are being kidnapped and basically put into brothels. And if they sign a piece of paper that says, "Oh, I'm going to marry you for an hour," they think that that religiously sanctifies prostitution. And if in some cases it's just blatant rape, girls younger than 13 as well. So the Jabhat al-Nusra has been made more powerful than them. And I think that is partly because of Qatar and Saudi Arabia making the funds flow, in particular to those very extreme groups. But I also think that the US would not let it happen unless they wanted it to happen. And I know in the media they're going on about the threat of the Islamists in Syria and the jihadists and Al-Qaeda ideologies. But from just lessons of history, you can tell that the US government's interests are to fund these extremist groups, not these moderate groups being just Muslim Brotherhood, not that moderate at all, but more moderate at least than the Al-Qaeda ideology. What? To bomb the cities. So it's interesting that Eric's father claimed his son was CIA, but before we call on Obama to drone strike Eric Haroun, we should probably call on him to drone strike himself, since he's been the biggest funder and purveyor of terror around the world recently.
Moving on to the online propaganda war.
One more flag and it's out. Press TV has been completely censored and is no longer allowed on US TV. And this is pretty significant. In a country where you're supposed to have freedom of speech, surely you're supposed to be able to listen to whatever media you want. Press TV is not allowed in America. And also the Syrian news channels are being bombed and targeted by the FSA, and they admit that the Syrian state channels and pro-Syrian state channels are being targeted. All the while, and I'm not saying it, I'm not promoting mercenary corporation called Aegis Sub. It's British-based. They were driving through the streets of Baghdad and randomly shooting at cars, and actually resulted in a car accident and some deaths. And this company claimed copyright on this video. I'm not sure how you can copyright yourself killing people, but even though the YouTube policy states that you can have violence if it's for documentation of war crimes, they're very selective about which violence they censor. So, of course, if the violence is being perpetrated by a side that they want to show as bad, they might keep the video. Otherwise, they'll remove it. The Yellow Man was censored until I complained about it. And now another video censored, which is from 6 years back. Basically, there's a campaign of people trying to flag my channel, trying to bring my videos down. And for the most part, I see YouTube is going along with it and accepting some of the ludicrous reasons to take down my videos and take down my channel.